welcome back. I'm Laura, I'm a hairstylist, and today we're gonna have some fun with fall hair color. So what we're gonna do today is color half of this mannequin one color, and then in a future video, I'm gonna do another example on the other half of the mannequin. Both colors are gonna be fall hair colors, and then we can kind of compare and see which one we like better. So for this example, we're gonna kind of enhance this already somewhat strawberry blonde hair. The color at her root is a little bit of a warmer color, and so we're gonna deepen that a little bit, and then we're gonna pull some low lights throughout her hair and brighten up some of the blonde. We're gonna do this by using all warm colors and then using a balayage lightener just to brighten up the ends a little bit. Today I'm using Pravana color, and for her root formula, we're using 4.56 with 10 volume developer. For our low light formula, we're gonna be using Pravana 7.64 with 10 volume developer. And then for the ends, we're gonna balayage with a balayage lightener and also 10 volume developer. Now you may choose to use zero lift, which is technically a 6 volume developer, but since this is mannequin hair, I'm not worried about it lightening. But if you want this to be more of a demi-permanent effect, I would recommend using 6 volume developer over 10 volume. And for the ends, because she's already pretty light, we don't need to use a high developer. We really just want to remove any bit of toner that's on there and just brighten it up a tiny bit. So we definitely don't want to go any higher than 10 volume. Now, anytime you're working with multiple colors, I recommend using different colored bowls and different colored brushes just so you don't get confused in the middle as to what hair color is what. So today, my darkest color, which is the root color, is in the black bowl. The mid color is in the gray bowl, and then the lightener color is in the clear bowl, and the brushes are all very different. So this is gonna help me so that I don't ever get confused as to what color I'm working with. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do today is apply the root color. We're gonna apply this all over the head except for the front money piece. Whenever I'm applying the root color, I like to apply the color to the perimeter of the hair first. So that means we're gonna outline the quadrants, and then we're gonna go through and apply the color individually to each section in the root. Okay, now that we've got the back quadrant finished, we can move on to the front quadrant, leaving out that money piece. I find that when you take these side sections backwards like this, you're less likely to have any lines or splotches that get put on the hair than when you're taking the sections and flipping them over, where there could be potentially colored hair here that those blonde pieces are gonna be touching. Now, once you get close to the money piece, I find it easier to, rather than painting the hair forward as well, you're less likely to overpaint the hair if you're only taking it back and painting it. So we're gonna leave this hair here out rather than painting this the darker color. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is just comb this root color down just a little bit, and that's gonna soften this line here. It's not gonna be quite as harsh, and it's gonna be a little bit more blended into the next color. So ever so slightly, we're gonna take a comb and brush in a little bit just to pull this deeper color down a little bit. This is gonna smudge it into the next color so that we're gonna have a nice transition. Now, if you want a little bit deeper of a color at this root area in the back by the crown, you can take some of the darker color and paint it over top and kind of feather it in to the rest of the color, just so you're taking it down a little bit further in that area. Then you'll take your comb and blend it in even further. Okay, moving on to the side. Now, because this is a mannequin, I'm gonna kind of take this and squish it here. I probably wouldn't recommend doing this on a person. The main reason I'm doing this on a mannequin is just because this mannequin is hard to stay still. So when I grab the hair and I'm pinching and pulling, the whole stand is moving. So it's easier for me to take the hair and push down on it to blend it this way than it is for me to place it between my fingers and pull. And as we get closer to the front, there is one section left of color here. Rather than pinching and pulling or pushing down on the color to drag it down, we're only gonna take the comb and comb it down because we don't wanna get too much of that dark color towards the front. We really just wanna marry the color in at this point. So you can see that this front section here is still very blonde. It has not been saturated with color. Okay, so now that we've applied the root color and dragged it down, we're gonna go ahead and add in our low light. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a section, we're gonna slice a section out, and that first section we're gonna leave totally light. And this next piece here, we're gonna do a pretty heavy weave. I like to do ribbon weaves when I do low lights. And this is just so you're keeping dimension. If you do it too fine, it's gonna blend in a lot. And we wanna see some dimension in this. So we're gonna do a relatively thicker, bolder weave here. And we're gonna take our low light color, which is again the 764, and we're gonna take it right up to the previous color that we put on the root, and we're gonna paint some down and then use our fingers to marry it down. And we're gonna leave the very ends of this out. Now this is really up to you. You can leave some of the ends out, or you can take it all the way to the ends, or you can do a combination of both. But we're gonna leave the very ends of this out just so we keep the bottom of the hair predominantly blonde. And after we pull that color through, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe my hand on this towel just so I'm not transferring color to the next section that I grab. If you choose to, you can put these lowlights into a foil, or you can leave them out. If they just touch the hair next to it, it's not gonna pick up any color. If you can see here, this is touching this blonde hair here, but it's not transferring. So we can leave these out of the foil, but if you choose to use foils just to keep things a little bit more organized and separated, then definitely go ahead and do that if it makes you feel more comfortable. Sometimes I use foils for low lights, but I don't always, just because it does add a bit more time and it's not always necessary. And also to save time, I'm actually gonna go ahead and do my balayage pieces at the very same time that I'm doing the low lights as I work my way through the head. And this is just saving me from having to go through it all a second time. You can choose to go through and add all of your low lights and then go back and add your balayaged ends, or you can do them both at the same time. So we're gonna take the low lighted hair and hold it to the right side, and then we're gonna grab the hair that we did not low light, hold it to the left side. If you'd like a deeper example on how to balayage hair, I've linked my video on how to balayage in the description below. And so I'm using that technique for highlighting here. Essentially, we are just going to be lightening the ends of the hair. We're hand painting the lightener on, and we're gonna leave this section of hair blank. We're not gonna put any color on this mid section of hair here. And this is really just to create some extra brightness on the ends. And we're gonna pull this through and taper it up and set this to the side. We're not gonna wrap this in anything. We're gonna let it process in open air. And this is just because we don't wanna put too much heat on this. We don't wanna damage this hair. We just wanna bump it up the tiniest bit. If we were to put this in a foil, it could over process and damage the hair, and we don't want that. So we're gonna pull the balayage pieces to the left and the low lighted pieces to the right. We're gonna take down our next section, which is about 1 inch thick. We're gonna take our comb and drop down a slice that's going to stay blonde, and then we're gonna do a weave up top. We're gonna pull the pieces that are gonna be blonde to the left, and we're gonna low light these pieces to the right. And I'll try to turn her here so you can see a little bit better what we're working with. And if you choose to, you can take a comb and comb this through. Just make sure you switch the side of the comb that you use when you get to the ends, just because you don't want to pull too much of this color down through the ends if you want to leave those ends blonde. So we're going to take all this hair over here and balayage it. Again, we're gonna drop down another section that's about an inch thick. We'll drop down one slice that's gonna stay light, and we're gonna do a thick weave for the low light. And ultimately what we're going for here is a nice strawberry blonde fall color. We're not going for a totally solid copper color. I wanted to keep her a little bit blonde. So that's why we are dropping that slice of blonde out of the hair, because we want to keep a lot of that blonde in there. I don't want to take too much blonde out of the hair. Now, some of this low light color will likely bleed into some of these blonde pieces a little bit, but in actuality, this is a good thing because this is gonna help marry it all together, and it's gonna give it a bit of a more uniform look so that we actually aren't gonna need to tone this blonde at all. Now going forward, I'm going to continue going with the vertical sections that I've been doing so far. You can choose to go horizontally if you want. It's really personal preference. It is going to vary the look a little bit. If you did complete horizontal, it's going to be a little bit more blended. We're going with dimensional here, so we're going to continue with the vertical sectioning that we've been doing. Now, if you'll notice, I'm starting with the blonde pieces on this side first, and the only reason for this is just because I'm laying them onto the same blonde pieces in the back. So I'm over directing them and placing them onto these same pieces. And this is really just for organization. All right, so now for this money piece section, we're gonna hold the hair away from the face and we're gonna balayage it up. Okay, so now I'm gonna take the low light color and just do a tiny bit of feathering at the top here. And this is really just to marry in those pieces that we left out blonde, just to give them a little bit of that mid color to marry them from the dark to the light. And again, we're not doing this everywhere. We're just doing it ever so slightly up at the top. All right, so now we're gonna let this all process, and we're gonna let it process for about 30 minutes, and then we'll rinse. Alrighty, so here we have the results, and I am so thrilled with how it came out. This is a really great way to deepen up your blonde for the fall, and it's just a little bit warmer all around. So if we flip her around here, you can see she's definitely still bright around the face, but she's deeper at her root, and she's got that dimension running all throughout her hair, but still keeping her ends predominantly light. And if we look at her head on here, you can see the before versus the after, and I absolutely love this update. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what questions you have in the comments section. And make sure you stay tuned because I'm going to do another fall color on the other side of this mannequin. And be sure to subscribe if you want to make every day a good hair day. Thanks for watching.